I think.
Yeah. Dennis, why don't you go to the next person?
Okay, I think that's me. So, hello, Gary.
Hey, Raj, how you doing?
Not bad. Anna, good talk. I've not heard that one before. But Anna, I was a bit shocked when you said you don't mill your own wheat. You can't be a proper vegan.
I know. I'm trying to keep a bit of time on a Sunday afternoon, which will be dedicated to said milling, but it just gets away from me, Roger.
I thought you had a windmill in the backyard, like, you know. So.
I dream.
But I'm going to limit this to one because we've taken some time so far, and I know you get very tired, Gary. But
Never, Roger. No.
I want to talk to you about the animal rights movement, Bunny Rabbit Ears, in the sense that when you were talking to Ronnie before, you were saying that you got the sense that things are probably worse now than it was certainly when you wrote this, for example. I agree with you. So my question is this: is there, do you think, any possibility of actually getting a genuine animal rights movement in the future?
It's the relentless optimism that you have to be still doing that stuff at our age, Roger.
Right.
Despite the experience, you get up and you think, well, I'm not going to knock myself off today, so what am I going to do the rest of the day?
Yeah, Raj. I mean, the fact that you still do it, Raj, the fact that I still do it, the fact that Ronnie Lee still does it, the fact that, I mean, we do it because, actually somebody asked me about this a young person asked me, which is basically almost the rest of the world, but asked me the other day, do you think you're going to win? And I said, I don't think in those terms. I get up in the morning and I say, what am I going to do today? And it's sort of the existential question. Once I decide I'm not going to kill myself, what am I going to do with the day? And I don't know, Raj. I know there are a lot of good people out there. I know that. I know that there are a lot of good people out there and a lot of serious people out there. The problem is the noise of I just finished reviewing a book for Oxford on effective altruism, and which I despise. And I'm sure you do as well. And the thrust of my review was, this is a bunch of people who are complaining that they're not getting the money. They're not complaining about the fact that it's a welfarist paradigm that is dominant. It's not that they want to sort of do a radical vegan abolitionist approach. They're interested, they're whining about the fact they're not getting money. But they're not challenging the basic problem. They're not trying to shift the paradigm in any way. And I think that's part of the problem. Is you're right to say, and I agree with you. I mean, I think things have gotten a lot worse in that, all of these groups, all of the big corporate charities are so welfarist, it's outrageous. You have groups that are actually working with corporations like Whole Foods to develop the supposedly humane standards of exploitation and whatnot. It's pretty bleak. What I haven't figured out in the next phase of my life is going to be, Anna and I wrote Advocate for Animals, but, I'm hoping, Roger, that one of the things that happens in the next few years is that we sit down, meaning, like all of us and you and that we get together and we sort of figure out, we've been around for a long time. We have a perspective. I believe what we need, I'll share one thing with you. There's a group of abolitionists in Turkey. They're fabulous. They don't, they do tremendous advocacy work in Turkey, and they're really very effective. And they don't have any money. They basically just do potlucks and stuff like that, but they're very good. And I think part of it has to do with the people who sort of run it. People who are at the top are very sort of motivating people and whatnot. But we've got a lot of motivating people. It's not that there's, that there's and
that perspective and the edge that they have hasn't been tamped down by the corporate welfare groups. They're coming to this fresh, and it's always easier to deal with a meat eater who doesn't understand anything, who comes to you fresh, than someone who's been through the grind of the compassion, welfare, green, sustainable crap that we're being fed every single day, and where everything, all our concerns, they're just polishing the edges off all our concerns and saying that's good enough. That makes you a good person. Keep buying, and we'll tell you that you're okay. I mean, I'm just this morning I heard some proposal, on an environmental issue to do something by 2050.
Yes.
Aren't you sick of hearing about what we're going to do by 2050? My lawn it's the first week of June. Right now, New York had the same air quality as Delhi yesterday because Eastern Canada is on fire and the smoke is coming down the East Coast. My lawn, first week of June, has got big cracks in it. It looks like a dried out riverbed. This is the first week of June, and we're talking about 2050, we'll do something. So we're being fed this, it's all right, and government will take care of stuff. When has government ever taken care of stuff that's in our general interest with the energy and the sort of focus that we're going to need?
So the bottom line, Raj, is, yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's very difficult, but you know what? We have an obligation. We have an obligation to do it. And I'm not sure that you or I really have a choice. I get swamped with emails every week. I mean, I can't even keep, I stopped trying to keep up with them. But I mean, I get swamped, people who like listen to some thing I did on YouTube or some talk I get, and they say, I never thought about it that way. And the answer is, you know what? We can get these ideas out there. It's not rocket science, I mean, it's not rocket science. I mean, part of the problem is the ideas are pretty simple. What you and I and other people spend our lives doing is cutting through the bullshit, the welfare. I mean, it's like I can't believe, like, I actually spent like several days arguing with what the hell's his name, the guy who does the reducitarian stuff, Brian Cateman. I spent several days dealing with his nonsense because he was saying that you can't really be a vegan if you walk, because if you walk, you kill insects. And I was trying to explain to him. Trying to explain to him how absurd that is. But the problem is that you got somebody out there who's talking about that buffoonish stuff, but he's being supported by people like Singer and many of the quote leaders in the the animal community support this reducitarian stuff. And then you got this guy saying, well, you can't really be a vegan because if you walk, you step on bugs, and therefore there's no difference between stepping on a bug and eating a hamburger. And you say, no, Brian, there really are differences. Let me explain them to you. And he's just he's this smug little character who is who's making a lot of money. I mean, he's making good living with this reducitarian stuff. The problem is we got we end up having to deal with, I know I do, you do, we have, both of us for decades spent our lives trying to sort of fight against the nonsense that it's not the sort of the overt animal exploit, it's the animal people. It's you end up spending much of your life dealing with I mean, I end up spending a lot of my time dealing with people who say, yeah, but I went to Whole Foods and I bought level 3 chicken or whatever the hell they buy. They have these 5 grades of compassionate exploitation or whatever. You choose the level of torture you want. It is. There's one, Raj, right by my house, about less than a mile from my house. There's a Whole Foods.
The big meat section.
It's a huge meat section. You go in there, they've got like the five stage, like you can, if you're really willing to pay extra money, you can buy animals that have been raised and slaughtered on the same farm, and you can buy ones that that have been that have watched classical movies that I mean it's just nonsense. And
the great banner, a serving of compassion on every plate.
Yes, a serving of compassion on every plate. And the problem is that the animal people, our supposed colleagues, Raj, are busy promoting that stuff. That's the problem. The problem is that it's hard to be arguing.
If not, you're purist.
Yeah, you're a purist. There's
not realistic and all this stuff.
Yeah, animal liberation now, he says. And so
it's worked the last 50 years. So why is it going to work now?
Yeah, but so I think the answer is we've got to do it. We don't have a choice.